a huge accomplishment. So everybody, please welcome Chad Burmeister.
I was gonna wear the suit and tie that I normally wear. Actually, I don't, but I wore the key. I tried to get as close to the Keenan outfit that I could. So, yeah. I guess before we start the Q&A, I would take you to set a picture, right? To set the stage here for what we're going to talk about. Imagine you're 21 years old and you graduate from college and you're living in Colorado and you drive across country. You pack up a U-Haul with all your stuff. You drive across country to Arizona where your new job is, and you start with this new company that you've interviewed for, and you show up to work. You buy your first suit and tie. You go to work, and you do the best you can. Right? 9 months in, you're fired. That was me in my first job out of college from Colorado State University. And I'm competitive. I thought I knew what I was doing when it comes to selling, but my very first job, I was not successful. Fast forward 20 years later, I kept with it. And what the book Sales Hack does is tries to bring together, I've asked every best author that I know in sales, give me your #1 sales hack that you can share that changed the way that you sell. So from Gerhard from Selling Power to Craig Kleeman, who's touted the world's best cold caller. I don't claim to be the world's best, but I know the world's best, and I try to learn from the world's best. So there's a lot of cool chapters in there. I just gave away my signed copy with 20 of the 33 authors in Boston 2 weeks ago by accident. But I think it was to this really nice Russian gal from Russia. And I was like, oh, she was so nice. And I go, oh, here, take this back with you. And then I looked in my bag later. I was like, oh, where's my original signed copy? So maybe someday I'll go there and get to speak there or something. I think she said she works at a really cool place. So anyway, that's the background of where we've come from. And I'm going to try to share with you some things today around cold calling that may change the way that you go to market. And here's our agenda.
Yeah. So this is the agenda. We're just going to do some quick one-on-one Q&A with Chad here real quick. Then we're going to get into some actual calls that Chad brought for us, how they actually rock their calls. And then we'll do some Q&A at the end. So save your questions for later, but write them down.
And we have some of the stars of the calls here. So Luke, raise your hand. He may be one of the rocking stars here.
Sweet. All right, good deal. So let's get going. So first question I have for Chad. Isn't cold calling dead?
There's so many blogs out there nowadays about social selling. And certainly I think social selling is an aspect to the sale. Even someone like Joe Rowley, who kind of wrote the book on social selling,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
She'll tell you social selling is a channel. So if you suck, I think it was the Keenan last time, right?
Yep.
If you suck at sales, you're still going to suck at social sales. So when it comes to cold calling, I mean, it's been around for a long time, right? It's people still pick up the phone, they still answer it, and people still set meetings with it. So we did not have a cold calling team as of end of last year. We've created the cold calling team, and now the BDR outbound team does pure outbound, right? These aren't lead follow-up. Something around the order of 100,000 dials a month across 15 BDRs, hundreds, thousands of conversations, and yes, they're converting. What's interesting is we have a leads team that generates just so many, 400,000 customers. So you can imagine the lead flow that you have to generate those kinds of deals. The deals up market that the BDR team goes into generates something like $5 or $6 million a month in pipeline and close to $1 million in revenue, which outpaces some of our other lead sources. So is cold calling dead? No. I don't think it's going to die anytime soon. Now, I was at a recent conference and somebody said, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk. You heard of him?
Yeah.
Gary
V.
So he said, be careful, because within the next few years, he thinks that as companies like RingCentral, right, we're a VoIP phone provider. Even my Comcast at home now, I can have it routed to here, and it's a, voice over IP based phone system. So think of the apps that they could start to build to put in the way of a cold call, right? That could be an interesting value proposition that says, filter out all the cold calls that I get and only serve up the ones that I want to get. So just like Amazon came along and created books in the cloud, is there a question mark? Maybe in 5 years from now, cold calling could be done in a very different way.
Well, if that's the case, then both you and I are out of jobs.
I don't think so.
All right, cool. So next question. You went to Douglas County High School, and then you went to CSU, so you're a Colorado boy. So I'm sure you've seen a lot. So what's actually changed in sales from then to now?
So, is Nathan in the crowd back there? Where is he at? Nathan, right there. So I was talking to him before we started, and he's in field sales. He's from Australia. His product's pretty cool. 600 people, 30 people in his 20 or 30 in his division. And I said, what's changed in the last 20 years in sales for you, right? He's a field sales guy. So what's changed? I said, to me, one of the biggest ones from when I first got out of college, what's your Rolodex? Who do you know? And so what was interesting, he's from Australia and relocated to Colorado, and he said, it's not my Rolodex anymore, right? LinkedIn's my Rolodex, ZoomInfo's my Rolodex, DiscoverOrg's my Rolodex. I can get contacts by the drove, and I can call them, I can introduce myself, I can connect. So it's not so much Rolodex even more, even for a field sales rep who traditionally that was one of the core top 3 things. Tell me about your Rolodex.
Right.
I almost brought the bin because I kept all the business cards from lots of years. I cut them in my pack rat.
Yeah.
And so I was going to bring this in, and I couldn't find it because we're refinishing the basement. But literally card after card. And when I would go interview, like from Airborne Express in Phoenix out to California, FedEx, that was one of their questions. Well, who do you know? It's like, check this out, and I had the contacts from U-Haul. I had the contacts from all these big companies, and I was a trusted advisor to them. People will pay for the trusted advisor to come in and help sell to other companies. So Nathan's perspective was they hired him for the experience, not for the Rolodex anymore. So I think that's a huge one. And obviously, internet. I mean, I remember sitting around in '99, this whole internet thing's coming out. We're looking at it going, how do we make money on that? I remember me and my buddy sitting in the backyard going, under the stars, what are we going to do to make money on this? He ended up going to Cisco and made pretty darn good money for a few years and continues.
Some of us younger people don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
we'd love to hear more
What's
about
life without it? Yeah, my kids know about it, but they don't know about it.
Right. All right, cool.
So, yeah.
Anything else major that's changed for you? Internet's a big one. I get that.
Yeah, the internet's kind of the big one.
Yeah.
Well, I've got kids now, so that's a big one.
Yeah. That'll throw you a curveball.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, you were running sales and marketing, field sales, BDRs for Connected Cell. And, you were the VP of sales and marketing there. Everybody rolled up to you. Sales ops, everything. So, why did you make a move from Connected Cell to solely focus on sales development, or BDRs, business development, and also too, to follow that up, why with RingCentral?
Yeah, so Gary can close his ears because we were talking in the back about this. It's pretty easy. If you flip one more slide. This spaghetti chart of information is a big reason why I make the move, right? When you own all of quota-carrying sales, all of marketing, all of sales, that sounds cool, and it is. It was fun. But if you think about bottom of funnel versus top of funnel, there's a sales development company. They track inside sales. They're like the Gartner for inside sales teams. And so it's called Topo. They're out of California, and they track all these areas. So let's just pick one of those areas, right? If you're not good at every single one of these buckets, today, actually we had a call with our VP of sales, our head of marketing, myself, and then another VP. And we said, how are we doing compared to your other customers? She said, well, before you worked with us, they're selling a little bit obviously, but she's the analyst, so she's really not trying to sell me anything. Before you worked with us, you guys are pretty sophisticated. You've got this great inbound team, you invest in your shared leads program, you've gone mass market, you're amazing on that side. On your outbound side, that's still pretty new for you. So I would give you a 2 or a 3, and after you implement what we've recommended for you, I'll give you a 5 or a 6, which means you still have to go from 5 to 10. And that's because of the areas, look at that, right? Do you know your target market? Do you know your ICP or your ideal customer profile? Well, what is it? A lot of companies, if I were to ask Term Scout, what would you say is your ideal customer profile? See, that's the normal response. A lot of people say it's everybody, anybody who needs to call anybody. If it can't be put on a list of discrete people and companies that meet a certain profile, then it's not a good ideal customer profile. It's not a good target list. And those are, they unpack these to a level that are very intriguing, right? So this whole top of funnel is the new frontier. The bottom of funnel has been optimized for 100 years, right? You go in, you uncover the pain. If you're selling to enterprise, that's a different sale than an SMB. Mid-market's a little bit different. So to me, that stuff's I'm on cruise control there, right? Whether it's my field team, my inside team, point, click, go, right? Whereas with top of funnel, it's so new. The ability to capture call recordings, like that's just starting to be done. Companies like ExecVision, Conversature is another one. They capture the call recording, and then I can go, right now, I can pull on my phone and pop up all of Luke's calls for the last week and say, oh, look, his conversion rate's moved up or down. And go, hey, David, what's going on with Luke? His conversion rate went down by 1%. Like that level of top of funnel optimization, that's a big reason why I moved to sales development. Why RingCentral? Honestly, I think we're in for a downturn again, right? You think of 09, I don't want to be the predictor here, but maybe this will be recorded and you heard it here first. I'm starting to see Series A's not get their Series B. I saw 2,000 people get laid off in Colorado in the oil business. I saw there's just a lot of risk out there. You saw LinkedIn valuation go from $200 a share to $100, now it's back to $125. There's just a lot of the unicorns are getting clipped. And so pick the company that has the ability to have wherewithal. If you're with a startup, the questions are simple. They're, what's your burn rate?
Yep.
Right? You just joined a startup.
Yep. What's
What's your burn rate? How much money do you have in the bank?
Yep.
Oh, so your burn rate's $1 million a month and you have $2 million in the bank? Okay, great. You're gonna last for 2 months.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There goes
So
that
those
unicorn.
are the questions. And that's a big reason why RingCentral. I do know a lot of the leadership here, and I've seen what they've done in the past.
Yep.
So the best predictor of future is past performance, so that's another.
Sure. All right. Cool. Well, all right. So you're now at Ring. You've been here pretty much since the beginning of the year. What have you done in your first 6 months?
Well, I lost about 3 or 4 people, so I'll just be honest
So you
there.
start off with that.
So, yeah, well, if I start with the negative, then we can go to the positive.
Right.
But it's funny, I bring that up because anytime that you make a change, it can be perceived negatively. And so I think that's what we went through in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Right? So I came in at the end of December, we separated the inbound team from the outbound team. And so if you're used to getting, a lot of web leads and now you get none and you move to a cold call, the good news is, Gary, your quota just went from 40 a month down to 10. Bad news is now you gotta go uncover the 10. So for reps who are superstar performers out here, look at it like, this is amazing, because now if I get 20 or I get 13, I've just done 130% of my quota.
Right.
Whereas somebody who's used to getting a 40, I'm used to getting 44, 110%, now you just made it, you took away all my leads.
Right.
So, but let's talk about the business value. Yes, I had 3 or 4 people leave the team. However, the conversion rates on my inbound team went from 8 or 9% conversion rate up to 10 or 12. So 2% might not sound like a lot, but 2% on hundreds of conversions is dozens or, we count 1% is about 50 ops a month. So that, by separating it, and you look at the leads, you optimize it, you set up an email cadence, you set up exactly what the conversation looks like, you can specialize, that helped us on that side.
Yep.
The outbound team is really where I see the biggest leverage, and that's why I'm excited about the How to Rock Your Cold Calls conversation, because if you go forward one here, these are the numbers. I mean, 1.4% conversion rate, which means if I call 100 people today, my outbound BDR team, they're gonna book 1.4 meetings. So that's 100 conversations with they should be intrinsically qualified prospects. It's a pretty low conversion rate. For cold calls, on the average, we see anywhere from 3% to 6%. So if I can get a +1 in this group, that's another 100 opportunities a month.
Yep.
That's a double of the productivity with the same headcount. I see Kevin's in the back. Kevin runs our mass market team. His wheels are turning right now going, same headcount, more conversations, higher conversion rate. It's revenue equals frequency times competency, right? One of my chapters in the book is get the F up, get the frequency up, and then you work on the competency, right? You're not competent when you first join a new job. What can you do? Well, have more conversations. If Josh was here, I don't know if he's in the back. Josh came in and he played for Boston College football. He was the captain of the team. He tried out for the Detroit Lions last summer and then didn't go forward. So we got the luck of getting Josh Bordner here. And his first month on the job, the average dials per day per rep was about 800 a day. He averaged about 2,300.
How do you get
3 times
2,300 in?
that you gotta have a product like Connect and Sell.
Okay, cool. I just
I
want
don't
to
sell
make that
them.
clear. I just want to make that clear.
I don't own the stock.
Everybody, if I was sitting out there and I didn't know Connect and Sell, I'd be like, 2,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
A month of dials in one day,
Yeah.
but he tripled the number of
Yep.
dials. His conversion rate, he comes from football. He's a competitive person.
Right.
Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. And he learns.
Right.
A lot of people have a tendency to want to overqualify a lead, I think.
Totally.
So, tell me about this. Tell me about that. Let me get all your technical requirements. Yeah, we have this thing called the Simple 7.
They want to start selling
Yes.
before they're just qualifying.
Yes.
Right.
Triple the volume, double the conversion rate. What do you get? A rep who hits over 200% in his first quarter.
Right.
So that's what we've done so far, but the chart you saw with Topo, that's what I'm most excited about is there's so much more that we can optimize.
Yeah.
And the most exciting part, I didn't tell you why did I come here. When you're managing a field team that have 25, 30 years experience, what I can add value for them might be this much. In fact, they can probably teach me a few things.
Right.
When it comes to the team that we have in place here, and in Charlotte, and Belmont, Manila, these folks can grow, to the moon.
Yeah.
So that's really what's most exciting.
That's cool. So, how do you guys rock cold calls?
All right, so let's get into something. I want to show you a short video. Has anybody heard of Jeffrey Ma? So Jeff Ma is the guy who was the MIT guy who did card counting. And I just got to hear him at the Topo conference about a month and a half ago. And so I was sitting in the front row and he put some hands of blackjack on the board and he's like, okay, this is on names of 600 people. What would you do on this hand? And I play blackjack, so it's like, 11, double down. 6s against a 6, split. You got a 5, 11, double down. And the guy was like, wow. He goes, I did this presentation to a group of financial analysts and they didn't even know what to do with this. So anyway, I'm going to show you this just to set the pick for what is this, how to rock. Check this out.
Yeah, so basically all that counting cards is using the past to predict the future. Blackjack is the only game in the casino that really truly has a memory, meaning what you see impacts what you're going to see. And card counting in a nutshell is basically just looking at the cards you've seen and analyzing those basically and predicting what cards you will see. So the way that card counting works is when there's a lot of low cards left in the deck, it's in the dealer's favor. When there's a lot of high cards left in the deck, it's in the player's favor. So if you've seen a lot of high cards versus low cards, you can expect a lot of low cards to come, and you know that your odds of winning are much lower than they are normally. On the other hand, if you've seen a lot of low cards versus high cards, then you know there's a lot of high cards remaining, and therefore you know your odds of winning are higher, and then you just bet more when that's the case. 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s are worth +1s. 7, 8, and 9 are worth 0 because they're roughly neutral. And then 10s, face cards, and aces are worth -1. Yeah, the higher the number, the better, because that means you've seen a lot of low cards, and there's a lot of high cards left.
I bet you didn't know you get a lesson in blackjack when you came out to this event, right? The key there is, just like when do you hit, when do you fold, what do you say in a call? At the beginning of the call, the second part of the call, the third part of the call? What you say has huge implications, especially when you multiply it across tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of phone conversations. When 1 point is 50 ops, 50 ops is $1 million. $1 million in pipeline is $200,000 bookings. Like, this matters. Inside the conversation stuff matters. So think about this, a tale of two people. Turns out Bob and Larry are the co-chapter, or the co-presidents of the AAISP, but I just kind of came up with that because it was kind of a good one. So Bob here has 100 conversations. Larry has 100 conversations. The only difference is that Bob's an expert at what I'm going to show you in a minute called the Swift Intro. This is a company that's out of Arizona. They're called Factor 8 Training. And I've leveraged them 3 or 4 times. They've trained Staples salespeople how to do cold calls. And I saw it work at Connect and Sell with high volumes. And so naturally I brought Factor 8 here. Imagine Bob with a 94% opener rate, and then everything else is the same. 53% to the next level, right? They get to the value part of the conversation. 20% the customer's engaged. 30% go to a meeting, that's 3 meetings. 3 out of 100 is better than 1 out of 100. The only difference, I use the example, I have a friend here in Denver that I'll call Joe, but that's not really his name, just in case he ever finds out about that I'm telling the story. But when we would go to like a bar 20 years ago, he could never talk to a girl at a bar. Like his thing was, he'd fumble every time. And so he was terrible at the opener, right? He was Larry. Well, when he was with me, I was okay at opener. I was good at the opener. And then once he got to the next stages, his conversion rate's okay, right? He could at least carry on a conversation. He was a cool guy. He owns his own business. It's like, nobody taught him how to open a conversation. So it's so important. Think of a bucket that's this big, and then think of one that's this big, right? I'll take the one that's huge because then I get higher conversion rates. So my whole thing with the team so far when rolling out Factor 8 in the last month is just get past hello, right? I almost played the Jerry Maguire, "You had me at hello" clip, if anybody remembers that one. Get past hello. So here's how you do it. Think of a call on this side. "Hey, Ryan, this is Chad Burmeister. I just called to introduce my company to you. I'm with Term Scout, and we've been around in Denver for a while, and okay, what's your point? Like, what's the point, right? What is this? Are you the person, Ryan, that does purchasing? Like, what is all this, right? No, make it. Has anybody ever heard the term W2FM? Travis, W2FM? No? Anybody else? I bet Gary knows W2FM. No?
What's in it for them?
Exactly. What's in it for me? Right?
WTFM.
It's not a radio station.
WTFM. Not
WT.
W2. WT.
WT.
What's in it for them?
What's in it for?
W2.
What's in it for me? Right? What's in it for me? If you're calling me, what's in it for me? NetSuite. Gary's with NetSuite. If he calls and says, "Hey Chad, this is Gary from NetSuite. I'm calling to introduce my product to you. I'd like to see if I can have 15 minutes of your time. I can have 15 minutes of your time, and I want to invite you to a cup of coffee. Does that sound okay?" No, like you can't have 15 minutes of my time. You have to earn it. Like, what is this? Now, flip it. "Hey Chad, Gary from NetSuite. I'm calling to follow up with you. NetSuite, you're probably aware, I see your LinkedIn profile, you're connected to so. NetSuite, at a company of your size, within 1 year from now, 90% of companies like yours, because you're $300 million in revenue, will move to NetSuite. It's just kind of a proven fact. I wonder, are you the person that would look into the NetSuite conversion? No, but that's a good conversation, right? He hit the value, I got it, he added a little bit of value to me. I might have that conversation. Drop the just, there's so many of these just phrases that are terrible. So Swift intro, right before this meeting, I sat down with Kevin, and we pulled up my LinkedIn, and I said, check this out. I get so many LinkedIn messages that are so terrible. Let's see if there's one there right now. Oh, look, there's one now. Hi, Chad, just dropping a quick note. Just dropping. Okay, that minimizes your value as a seller. I'm just dropping you a note to see if you're in the market. ... Okay, this is a sales pitch. It has no value for me. And guess what? Just dropping you a quick note, see if you're into outsourcing your lead generation and appointment scheduling. Let me think. I've got 30 BDRs around the globe. Let me outsource that so I can send my job off to your company too. No, be relevant, right? It's ridiculous. Did you do any research? If this was a phone call too, same thing. Hey Chad, this is Sapphire, marketing assistant at S.T. I'm just calling to follow up and see if you have any, if you'd like to outsource your lead generation services. Really? Now, look at Jeffrey Hazlett. He's sent me a note at 9:21 this morning. He's the former CMO of Xerox, so he's got a little bit of street cred. Well, it looks like he did a little research. Filming book authors in New York City on June 27th. It's a little verbose, I'll have to admit, but that gets my attention. He knows I'm a book author, apparently, because he sent me something that's relevant. That's a lever. And then, do you have a business book or someone you know with a business book? Yeah, this is interesting. So, and he sent me one or two on follow-up to this one, right? Each of them are adding to the next one. That's value add. Sapphire, I'm sorry, but you're not taking my job. So be relevant when you open up your conversation. All right, let's see. Let's make a Swift intro. Why don't we do, who can help me with this exercise? David's still back there? David's in the back. How do we do, let's do this a little out of turn. Who can we pick on? Who wants to work on their Swift intro for their product? Anybody here? And David will help me because he's pretty versed in this too. Who wants to build their product Swift intro? Right here. Joe. Sure. Stand up. All right. Actually, come to the front.
Come on up here, Joe.
Yeah. Give Joe a round of applause.
All right, Joe.
All right. We'll try to sell some of your product here. Okay. Stand here because then this will capture and it'll all be products. Okay, David, can you come here too? You've done more coaching on this in the last week. David's going to help us with this. David Pearson.
Yay, David.
All right, David, meet Joe.
Hey, Joe.
All right. Joe is with company name?
Sticky Media.
Sticky Media. What does Sticky Media do?
We're an ad tech company, and our job is to increase your in-store sales and customer retention by 30% in the next 3 to 6 months.
Ad tech company increased 30%. So when you call, what's your normal talk track as of today if you were to call and make an introduction?
Well, of course, this is Joe with Sticky Media, or I go by Kramer because it's my last name, it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
So, hi, this is Kramer with Sticky Media, and I was looking to see who's in charge of doing your media buying or in charge of marketing and advertising. Is that you?
Okay. Pretty standard sounding opener, right? Are you the purchasing person? In today's world, if I've gotten 20 of those emails in the past 2 weeks and 3 voicemails that day, I mean, literally, you wouldn't believe it. Right? On my phone right now, I probably have another voicemail. Oh, yep, 3 from today. And so you get so many calls that sound like that. Are you the person responsible for it? So now let's try to tinker that a little bit. Let's just go one step at a time. So you said, did you use the person's name when you call? If you knew my name, you'd say, Chad, or let's have David be the buyer. Okay, David's the buyer. I'll coach from there. So you would open up to David. Hi, David. This is Kramer from Sticky Media. Introduction with a value or a lever. So a lever, let's share what's the value, what's a lever.
Well, a value could be, you know, anything that a decision maker values: time, money, efficiency, ease of use, less risk, things like that.
So the 30% increase.
Yep.
Right. This might be okay. And then a swift question.
You could say, I'm looking to see if I can save you some money by centralizing all of your purchasing and marketing and that.
Right? That's the swift question because you've transitioned it into, I'm looking if your company could benefit from 30%. Instead of you're the purchasing guy, ask the question that asks, could you benefit from that statement that you just let?
Did you go right into that question? Did you have to like, you know, kind of, did I catch you at a good time? Or
No,
catch you at a bad time?
that's the hardest part for the team is dropping that. Hey, this is Luke from RingCentral. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you? Blah 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 blah. And then it goes back and forth. If you can get value to me as fast as possible, okay, now you got my attention. So try that minor tweak, how you lead with the 30% thing, then go into the swift question that says, would you benefit from a 30%? Whatever that question. If you can put those three things.
If you mean like, hey, this is Kramer with Sticky Media. I'm calling today because I wanted to find out if you would be interested in raising the customer retention for your store at about 30% in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah,
You think that would benefit you in some kind of way?
absolutely.
We've created a cool ad pattern.
Right? You give them a round of applause, right?
All right, Joe, good job.
So volunteering on the fly, you get the Jim Keenan
I
book
got
that
it,
was
James.
reset.
So
Oh,
give that-
all right,
that
we'll
last
pass that one. There it is. All right, thanks for playing.
Good job, Joe.
That's cool, right? And it's so easy, like it's not hard. So the hardest part is we get in our own way when we're trying to change something. That's why I showed you the video of Jeffrey Mock, because if you can just get out of your own way and just go by the card counter, go by what he's just learned. If he does that 100 times, track it, A/B test it for real, right? And then go back and look at it and say, no way, man, the one I did before David helped me was way better. Okay, cool, then go back to that. But try something new. Right now, David's looking for 1% increase. That's 50 opportunities in a month. What would 100 times, a better conversion rate mean for your business? It's a big difference. Okay, so these scorecards, I don't think we need to do these. I think we replace this with the live interaction.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's go listen to some calls. Anybody heard of Exec Vision? So Exec Vision, my good friend Steve Richard is the Vice President of Sales or CRO, and they've created an app that will capture all of the phone conversations from GoToMeeting, RingCentral, Connect and Sell, whatever you're using, they'll suck the data in. The system automatically converts the conversation into text, and it's searchable. And this provides a full back-end coaching for managers, for anybody who needs it. So let me just pull this up. All right, so I've uploaded a handful of calls. Luke will play first right here. All right, so here goes Luke. Oh, and we should hand the sheet out. We're going to go through 3 or 4 of these. I don't know if everybody has pens. Yeah, take one down, pass it around. So what you're going to listen for, did they use the Swift intro that you just heard about? Did they use the Swift intro? Did you hear value? What value did you hear and where did you hear it? Was there a differentiator? And when did the customer engage and at what level? Yeah. So, I will tell you, we're in early phases of adoption of this training.
What do you say?
Started this morning. So that some of these may be, don't try this at home, but we're all going to have a lesson learned here. Here we go. Luke, 11.
Good.
My call is to help you with your phone system project. How are things going?
Everything's going good.
Okay. So what has you in the market for a new phone system?
Well, we just have a real ancient phone system at the church, and so, I knew that we're in the process of getting some quotes on replacing the phone system, and, so I saw your ad on Facebook, so I just replied to it, so.
Okay, perfect. I'd be more than happy to help you. My role here is just to have a brief conversation, get a better understanding of what it is you exactly need, and then connect you with our account executive who can build you that formal proposal.
Okay.
So how many phones would you need for the system?
Let's see here. Hold on just a second. Hey, how many phones do you think we need? Switch in the church. I think we need like 5 or 6 to start with.
Okay, so obviously he's getting into a qualification. Hi, round of applause. Right? At the end of the day, it's about, did the customer give us the information? Did we move the deal forward? It's kind of like Top Gun, best movie of all time, right? Where it goes, you did a great job, but this isn't an example of a good maneuver or something like that. I didn't quote it word for word, I used to know that one. But you got what you needed to get. There's probably a few adjustments you would make post-Factor 8 training. Correct assumption. So let's go through and answer the question. Do we need to hear it again, or did everybody get the scorecard for the
I think we're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Did you fill it out?
I did feel like it.
Okay. Raise your hand if Luke had a swift intro. Okay.
So that would be no?
That would be no.
Okay.
Okay. Did you hear a value?
Anybody raise their hand?
What was it?
Saving some time.
Save you some time. That is a value. It's interesting, when you're calling, these are people who filled out a form. We call it a shared lead program, right? Expert market, buyer zone. They sell these leads to 5 different vendors sometimes 3. When you call, I'm calling to answer questions. He said, I'm calling to help save you some time in your selection process. That's a value statement. Most people just want to pitch you something. He's adding value to me by saying, I'm calling to save you some time. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the one thing I took from the call, if I'm on the other side, I know he's reading from a script. If you're calling somebody that was either marginally cold, in the first 3 seconds, he would already have the phone on the phone, or the caller would have been shut down. He sounded like he was reading from a script.
It's
There was
interesting.
there was no authenticity, no like everyday language in that call. So you can use whatever tactics you want, but if you miss that first part of it, people will shut you down harder than harder.
Yeah, definitely. Right? When you can hear that it's a script, you're totally right. If you write it down and you read it, that gives it away. Hey, this is a sales call. If you can, people know it's a sales call, but your goal is to get them from, they're in 5th gear, they're in cruise control doing something else. They're not expecting your call. So your goal is to get them out of whatever it is they're doing, probably reading an email or talking to someone in the conference room, and get their head to pick up, and then they're engaged. So I think that's good, good feedback. Okay, let's try another one. I've got a really funny one, but I don't know if this audience can take it, so we're gonna keep that one for last.
Does that mean you're gonna play it?
No, maybe. We're gonna try this one first.
Boom.
Hi, Ruben. This is Garrett McKee with RingCentral. The reason I'm calling today is after providers are moving to a full business communications in the cloud to gain control over HIPAA compliance, I wanted to know where you were in a process like that.
Currently, right now, we already have our own system and processing pieces over HIPAA within our system. I would Now, in terms of cloud, is it also like a hybrid setup too you can do?
Yes.
Do you have, you said you're going to get RingCentral?
Correct. Have you explored RingCentral yet, or read about us?
I've heard the name before, I've seen it online, other,
Perfect.
Okay, I think on the engage-o-meter, if you start from the bottom up on this one, he got to engage, right? This person's now giving him, he's in a conversation, okay? When did they start to engage? That was pretty, they engaged pretty quick, right? So that's, bottom two, you get a check mark. Was there a differentiator question? Yes, right? Okay. Value, do we remember the value? What was the value? Okay, maybe used a little interesting, I would say, in that we help you be HIPAA compliant. Yeah, okay, maybe could enhance that a little bit, but overall, again, some of those are style points. Like, he got him engaged, he used the SWIFT intro. That was right out of the training. You know, where are you in your unified business communications? It was smooth, right? He talked about it. It was perfect.
Remember the company name? RingCentral, right?
Yeah, right? That's good. So, high five for Garrett. Would we give him a 5 out of 5 on that one? I think so. That's good. That is darn good. Okay. I just don't know if I can play the funny one.
You got it.
Play. Play the funny one.
All right. Goodness great. Okay, it's this one. I'm telling you, this one made the class kind of exactly. It's just, you'll see. All right.
Adam?
Hello?
Hey, this is Rich calling from RingCentral. Looks like the reason I'm calling. What kind of companies like yours that have taken control of their business communications by moving them into the cloud? Where is gay men's health crisis in that process?
What kind of communications?
Your business communications, like the phone, email, text, all communications that you guys do, internal and external.
Oh, let me connect you to, I'm trying to think who, that would be our IS department, I guess. You know, let me connect you to, let me find out what his, we have a new, let's see if I have his email address I can have you.
All right, so then he connects, and I can't remember. Imagine if you're gone through the training, and Kathleen, the trainer, is sitting there with a Y connector, and it pops up on the screen, and you're like, wow, I'm trying to use my script, I'm trying to sound non-scripted, and that's the call you got. It was a pretty wild conversation, right? So the point is, the reason I say that's funny is because you have to recover a lot of times. You may be on a call and somebody throws a curveball at you. You got to be ready to, you know, he kept that call going. He earned $100 cash bonus later that night because we were like, that was darn good. With the Y splitter, you got it going. And then the call continues, he gets a referral, and he gets a meeting out of it. So that was pretty darn impressive. Are you guys seeing how this, such a subtle thing, where that call may have gone in a different direction? I'm not looking for a move from 1.5% cold call rate to 80%. Believe me, there's 89 other conversations that I didn't play just now. I had 2 hang-ups today. I was going to try to do a great one for the recording. I spent 30 minutes on Connect and Sell, and I didn't even get to say anything. It was just, they picked up and they hung up. And I'm like, okay. But as long as I can get from 1.5% to 3% to 5% to 6%, by making these subtle tweaks, I mean, that's how you rock the cold calls, right? Should we do, you want to do one more, or do you want to do a, question?
I noticed several says, like, they ask or say the reason why I'm calling. Is that like an okay phrase to say? I mean, just be straightforward? Or
Yeah, the purpose of my call is another good one.
Okay.
Chad, the purpose of my call is, boom, fill in the blank.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good statement. The other thing that she talked about in the training was think about the average age of your sales floor, right? It's starting to be 21 to 25, 29, 30. And who are you selling to if you're selling to an IT department? 40, 50, 60, 70. So easy, right? In the IT department. Oh, I thought you meant easy. You were gonna go for 80. Right. All right, so this is perfect. We've got a demo. No, when you're talking to someone that uses language that's, hey man, Gary, I thought it'd be cool to reach out to you and see what you're doing, bro. Or, hey, hi Gary, this is Chad Burmeister from RingCentral. I mean, the tone of your voice. You've got to remember that your audience almost gets offended by a, hey man, what's going on? You can't talk the way you talk to your peers, the way you talk to a prospect. So some of that language is important to think about as you're having these kinds of conversations. And it's hard, right? If you say it at work every day and now you get into character, yeah.
What's a recommended grading frequency on something like this?
The what frequency?
Recommended, how often are you grading?
Oh yeah, good question. It's interesting. We've got a team in Manila of 8 people who actually do daily grading, and they send out an email with a picture of the person, and it says, hey, great job, you got 100, anything 90 and above. If it's under 90, an email goes out to the rep and to their manager and says, here's the call recording. So I would say we're 401 when it comes to call coaching and call grading. Now, they're listening in Manila to, did you ask these 7 qualifying questions? They're not listening to the finesse of how did you open stage 1 of the opener, stage 2, stage 3. I need to get that to the team so that they know what to listen for. Long-winded answer, where we're starting with this new process is once a week, 2 random calls per rep. So David will sit down with his team in a one-on-one for half an hour, say, okay, spin the dial, boom, play. Did you do it or didn't you? What's